I'm going to replace Milena. I hope you don't mind it. So I just wanted to add something on Danny's lecture. Thank you, Danny. It was so inspiring, like usual. A couple of years ago, I learned from Danny one thing, and I think that you left it for me to say it's every day counts. Really, every day counts. Just don't forget about that, because at least one day you will remember my words, and those words I learned from Danny Creed, and then you will say, oh, I have that pressure on my back that I didn't do something that I wanted to do before. So just don't spend your time. Just don't spend your time on stupid things. Just do the things you think now that you can do, and every day counts, really. So thank you very much, Dan, one more time. And I would like now to invite our guys we will talk about very interesting things. While I was traveling, I was always wondering, now I need to take a plane. Now I need to take a train. Where should I buy tickets? Go online. Then I don't have the internet. Then I seek for more things. Then I change the country and I need something else. So we're going to talk about very, very hot topic today. And that topic is digital storytelling, smart cities, digitalization of countries, of cities, and many more things that I would like to invite Mr. Dejan. Mr. Dejan Dramićanin, CEO of Bitgear, Serbia. Would you like to join us? Also, Signore Franco, Italia. Ja sam Miško, drago mi je. Benvenuti, Signore Franco. Ciao, piacere. Anche Giovanni, Vaia. I would like to invite you. Ciao, piacere. Ciao. Signore Giovanni, benvenuti a Serbia. And one gentleman from Israel, Gilad Uziely. I hope I pronounced it good. Welcome. Please, join us on the stage, and now we're going to talk about your main topic, which is very interesting to hear. Just one more chair. Okay, please, join us. Dejan, želite vi možda prvi da vam damo mikrofon? Ja, ok. Prego, buona fortuna.
Grazie. So thank you for the introduction. So now we are going to have this panel on Internet of Things, smart cities, and let's say opportunity and constraints. So I will start with a warm-up round. So please, I ask to introduce by yourself with your experience and projects that you had in your life.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my name is Coin, but I'm not a cryptocurrency. And please, in my experience, in my life, I started as a chemist, and I became a almost successful ICT entrepreneur. This means that this business is for misfits. So don't worry about if you are not a perfect I don't know, ICT man to start this business. Think about what are your goals and everything that all the people before said. In half of my life was spent as a chemist, and the second half as an ICT man. This is one of the reasons why, chemistry is terrible. It's very, it's terrible if you work on it for health, for life science. And so I've been involved a lot in regulations. So please, I'm black dressed because I am the man for regulation. So don't scare about that. And I hope that we are able to talk together of how a regulation is like GDPR, that is the one that is in the title of this story of this panel. How GDPR is something that we can just manage. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gilad.
Hi everybody, nice to be here, nice to see you. Good job for staying for our panel. My name is Gilad. I come from Tel Aviv. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started a few companies. Some of them went well, some of them not so much. And in the past 3 years, I've been working as a consultant, as a freelance consultant, also with the municipality of Tel Aviv, especially around things that have to do with smart cities. So my role is to be the connector between the city and its biggest asset. The biggest asset of Tel Aviv, it's its startup ecosystem. We have almost 4,000 startups in the city. Some of them are famous and strong. And my everyday job is to look for ways to connect the municipality to the startup ecosystem with the objective of improving the life of the citizens, making the work of the municipality more efficient, and last but not least, to support the startup ecosystem, because for us it's a very important tool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Dejan, please.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Dejan, and I'm a CEO of company Bitgear. We are doing electronics, actually. So we provide services of high-end research and development, and we also have our own solutions. Our specialty is Internet of Things. Actually, something which I would call like evolved Internet of Things, where let's say where we are searching for the way that these systems benefit a little bit, let's say, further than just from being connected. So we are trying to be enabler of the process which is called digital transformation, and which we will discuss today as well. So more or less that's it in short.
Thank you so much. So we have 3 very expert panelists today. So please, can you start sharing with the audience a couple of projects in terms of smart cities, of course, that you know or lead in the past? Yeah.
Okay, so we're actually undertaking now many projects, and when we talked before the panel, I had to think which are the ones that I really want to talk about. But I think it's important to first understand the strategy of the municipality and how we even started working on becoming a smart city. So Tel Aviv is small. It's only 400,000 people, so it's a small city. Obviously, it doesn't have the resources of much bigger cities. So we had to first see what are our strengths and where are the opportunities and what we can do. So we started looking around, and the biggest asset that Tel Aviv has, it's people, the population. Highly skilled, young, with very strong technological people in the city, and we decided that we need to go and leverage the people. So the first thing and everything that we do around smart cities, and we try to do it around everything, is to get the people involved. We started with round tables. We went down to the square, put tables, and started talking to people about all kinds of subjects, from education to mobility, to security, to whatever. And then we saw that it's something very good that the people appreciate, and came up with brilliant ideas. So we took the next step, and we developed an app, a mobile app called Digital, which with this app, we do exactly that. We talk to the people, we talk to the citizens, we ask them, we talk with, for example, with one neighborhood, and we ask them, the people of the neighborhood, you have a budget, what do you want? Do you want a playground for kids, or do you want to build a space for dogs? And each area will choose what's best for him. So this is one very important project. The digital app was sold already to a few other countries and other municipalities. So very successful project. Another project that is worth mentioning is the Smart City Beta Site. We took a part of the city, and we've just, the municipality, put sensors and cameras and all kinds of detectors, and just a place for startups that are dealing with IoT, or not only with IoT, with everything, can come and test their products. It can be watering the plants, it can be related to garbage, it can be related to noise, and you just come in, you plug, and you get all the data, and you can test things, and you can put cameras, and we have like smart electric poles, and we already started building it, and it will be open by the end of the year. So this is another very interesting project. Two sides. There are many, many more that I can talk about for hours. But if you're interested, come afterwards.
Yeah, awesome. So so you develop a kind of strategy for the city, right? So this is a 3 years, 5 years, 10 years strategic planning, or what else?
Of course, there is a strategic planning on
how many years? For example,
5 years.
5 years.
Yes,
okay.
just 5 years.
It's just my curiosity. In Belgrade, do you have a strategic plan for the cities for the smart city? Anyone in the audience that no? You don't know. Do you know if in Serbia?
I really don't know. It should be made, but it is also very hard. It's a little bit different than in Tel Aviv. Because we are kind of different, how to say, like Israel is a little bit more, we have different set of problems, how to say, and there are many other problems to be solved before getting into, let's say, being strategical about, let's say, some kind of digital transformation, about making some additional values and so on and so on. So, more or less, I think that there are efforts, and it will happen, but we don't have a strict, let's say, 5 years plan of developing some kind of ecosystem or whatever.
What can be strategic for Belgrade, for Serbia, in terms of smart cities, technologies?
Well, I can speak only in my domain of knowledge. There is an interesting, let's say, initiative here. We will very soon get a network, a physical network, actually infrastructure for long-range Internet of Things, which is based on LoRa standard, which is kind of new now. And that's a great opportunity for startup community, which is based on hardware, let's say, to develop. And also hardware, I personally look at the hardware as one of the, let's say, enablers of digital transformation when, how to say, like, when this grasping of data and so on becomes more physical and less a little bit abstract, to put it that way. So this is a great chance because I don't know if any other city will have very soon that strong network like we will have. So maybe it's not a strategy, but it's a good, let's say, good chance, and really can become strategic.
Really interesting. What kind of services are you thinking to implement on this kind of network?
Well, this network is, how to say, well, the state of IoT currently is generally in this, not in Serbia, but in general in IoT, is simply to, how to say, like to put sensors around, you know, so that sensors exist. And in order to let's say, go above, to go further than just proof of concept, there should be some kind of economical, how to say, like economy, some kind of specific problem which you will solve by some kind of specific solution, and that solution will later become more and more, it will be more and more integrated and so on and so on. But at the time being, the most important is that sensors are deployed and that signals are acquired. So this, let's say, wireless network for sensors, it's a good chance that we start to simply to connect things, and later on these, let's say, connections will give more insights and more, let's say, abstract signals, like when they are combined in more complex relations and so on.
Okay, I'll be back on that. Franco, in Italy, what do we have?
What do we have? We have a lot of stories, and they're all ongoing, because I don't think that any city is doing really something what they need. In my city, where my company headquarters is Treviso. Where my headquarters is still there. It's Treviso. It's a small city, 80,000 people. but is very strong in economics. Is the city of Benetton, is the city of Prosecco. Probably, maybe somebody of you knows what is. So I was involved in the first smart city project in the city that, of course, because of we are so fashionable, was related to the city branding. This is natural because every city feels that something is fixed his priority. It has been a very good, very interesting marketing work. It's not so easy to make marketing for a city, but it's something that you have to do, and it's something that it works because you have to create your city as more attractive, and we did it especially with through smart. Of course, smart devices, and also, of course, social media and so on. The other thing that we are doing in Treviso is a project, it's a long-term project, is a project for people that want to move to Treviso from abroad. It's not easy, of course. You have immigrants, you have talented people that are coming to the same city, you have a lot of skills that are needed by the industries there, and it's not easy to make the people feel good when they move here. Somebody told this morning about that you need something, where I have to go to school, where can I pray, where can I do something like that. So this project is called Treviso Calls Talents. It's a long-term project. We are just at the beginning. Let me know, I can tell you if something happens.
Thank you so much. So I think that we also, as in all the organization we learned today, we need a vision. We need a vision within the cities, because we have a lot of gadgets, we have a lot of technology, but will make any difference if we use more a strategy, more a vision, and also we involve the final users, the final stakeholders. Do you have some mechanism or methods to involve the citizens in Tel Aviv, for example, to bring on board and plan the future for the citizens?
Yeah, of course. I think that, first of all, smart city is something that I don't know what is the right definition of smart city. I think that every city needs to create its own strategy. There is no one solution that fits all. It's really based on the population, on the culture, on the environment, on many, many, many things. It is very important to remember that technology is an enabler. It's not a goal. It's very important to understand that in the end of the day, the municipality is here to serve the citizens. The citizens are the clients. You need to give them good service. This is why the municipality exists. And as I said before, for us, the biggest asset is the people. And with Israelis, you don't have a problem in engaging them. They always want to talk. Everybody has an opinion. If you put 2 Israelis in one room, you come out with 3 opinions. Everybody wants to say what he thinks. Everybody knows better than the other one, and there's a lot of emotions, and everybody wants to say something. So for us, getting the people involved is not hard. People, they want to be involved, they want to be heard, they always have something to say, and we just need to use technology in order to get insights from this, because you don't want to get the opinion of the one who yells louder than everybody else. So we use a lot of data in order to analyze decisions. We use technology, we use Israeli startups that develop technology that scan social networks and collect all the data points, and they can also analyze sentiment of what people are talking about on the social networks in order to make better decisions. So engaging is not the problem is to understand and to reach the right insights.
You are saying that you have a kind of a data scientist at the city level?
So the CIO of Tel Aviv has 400 people under her. So it's a huge organization, 300 developers, and this is why Tel Aviv is also, it's very advanced in terms of technology, and in terms of what we are doing in-house. It's much more advanced than other cities in Israel as well, because one of our biggest assets is foreign companies coming to Tel Aviv and to Israel. And our competitors are cities like London, like Paris, like Berlin, and also cities in the United States. This is our competition, and we need to compete.
You have a lot of young guys here, and probably you can bring on board, collecting ideas and etc. Are you thinking this kind of approach, yes, to involve the...
It's not that my company is building the network. We are just users, but the Serbian telecom is building that network, which is, by the way, very interesting move, because all other telecoms, they are waiting for, let's say, 3GPP recommendations and so on. So they are betting on the licensed spectrum. We are just like an anchor tenant application, and when you ask like which applications will that be, for example, what we are trying to do is to protect the infrastructure, because the telecom has a lot of asset in like infrastructure, and the Internet of Things system will protect these assets, but on a new way, which was literally not possible, let's say 1.5 years ago. So, for example, you have no maintenance sensors which are doing that stuff. There are so many other things which can be done on that wave. And the goal and the idea is to use that as like a historical chance to create the ecosystem of startups, of the companies which would like to move a little bit into the hardware space as well, and to, let's say, to create a new wave of solutions which are made in Serbia. So that's one of the main motivators which are somehow collateral to this particular project.
Interesting, very interesting. Thank you. So yeah, Franco, please.
Just one thing that I want to say, because of course my company is involved more in the business, and we have some collaterals in doing smart city. But one thing that I learned in smart city from a marketing point of view is that it's sometimes easier to understand the requirements. You know, a bus is on time, good. At times, out of time, is not good. So citizens have requirements that are very close. So one thing I suggest to you, let's go to Tel Aviv, copy and paste what they've done, because this works at all. It's not like in the business that copy and paste is sometimes doesn't work. In a smart city, it works better.
Okay, let's continue with you. But now we have sensors, we have apps, a lot of stuff. And so we have this type of big brother in the city. So how this comply with the new GDPR?
Good question. Okay, let me say first that as an entrepreneur, I think that GDPR is something that will give us sweet blood and tears, because it's something that we spent a bunch of work to comply to this new regulation. And the worst thing is that no one wants to pay a penny because of your efforts, because it's due by law. So this is one thing that you have to know when you go to apply to new regulation. I told you that I come from the chemical side of the world, and so I am used to work with the risk. And actually, what happened in GDPR is that we are facing a new regulation that is trying to lower the risk. This is something that makes sense. It makes sense from a citizen point of view. It makes sense from, let me say, a personal point of view. Of course, everybody is, of course, how many of you, is there anybody who don't know what Cambridge Analytica means, or the story of Cambridge Analytica? Everybody knows. So we are living this moment in terms of privacy, something like the perfect storm, because we have on one side a new regulation that's coming in, and then on the other side we have a big scandal that is running. And let me say that this will change in a short time. I'm here to to demystify the problems of GDPR, because I've been living treating risks in the chemicals and treating data risk in life science. A lot of fighting with the regulations. We are in this moment in the, I call it in the fight club moment. So everybody wants to punch each other. Everybody is saying, "Oh no, if you continue with this regulation, I will stop my business." Okay, and so okay, give you £4 million, €4 million as minimum, fine. It's not true. 4 million is a maximum fine you have to pay for GDPR, not minimum. And the other thing is that this regulation is based on risk discussion. So what is going on? Let's consider this something that is a new leap forward and something you have to fight, you have to discuss, we have to use. But as a ICT man, I can say that we are used to have new things that are changing. This time, instead of having mobile, but we understand perfectly what are the reason of, we are fighting against, we have to consider a new change that is related to something that we don't understand so well. Anyway, it's something that we can manage, something we can change. Just we have to have the right attitude to the regulation. The worst thing is that this regulation was born in Europe instead of somewhere else, because it is, let me say, something more sophisticated than they do in other parts of the world. For example, if you try to understand who what are you responsible for, it's quite easy. Every single personal data of any European Union citizen. If you try to understand who is responsible to ask you for your activity in this regulation, this is a mess, absolutely a mess. Because every single country has his own authority, and the problem is that everything is worldwide, and so there is a leading authority for every single situation. So this means that every time you have to go probably in 3 or 4 countries, only to understand which authority is responsible to give you an answer, you have to spend a lot of time. Anyway, this is a risk-based regulation. This means that as long as risk will be lowered in time, regulation will change. So don't worry, keep calm, and comply to GDPR.
Okay, thank you. I would ask you if in Tel Aviv you developed some specific regulation to support all this collection of data. So if you have any specific for...
Well, basically, obviously the municipality is heavy regulated. So we are heavy regulated with everything, not only with that, also with like transparency and stuff with the budget and everything. We're heavy regulated. And it's the same here. The same goes here. We are very strict. We follow the law as it's written. But what we do, we use a lot of technology in order to collect only the things that we need and not taking a risk. For example, we have lanes only for buses, only for public transport. And if you go on the lane with your car, you get a fine. So what you do, you take a picture of the car, right? But if somebody is in the picture, is in the car with his girlfriend, and his wife is at home with his lover, I don't know, or you know, it's privacy. Yeah, you can't take those pictures. So we use technology in order to film the car, but leave only the plate. And the other data, no one can touch it. It's on the camera. When it takes the video, it's destroyed everything else and leaves only the number. So you can also use technology in order to not collect data. That's one use case.
So you're saying that you have also a regulation for autonomous driving?
Actually, we are working on giving authority in the beta side that I mentioned before. We are going to allow some kind of autonomous cars. We still don't know what will be the capacity and when exactly, but we are in discussions. Again, one of our missions is to support the Israeli startup ecosystem. So we are working with a few Israeli startups that are working around the future of mobility, not only autonomous, also other kind of stuff, in order to allow them to use our beta site to try. The idea of the beta site is to test, and if the test is good and the municipality wants it, they will be integrated all over the city.
Okay, thank you, awesome. So, yeah, I saw that Serbia's, the government is really supporting the IT development. So, what's Serbia, what's Belgrade in terms of regulation and support to the diffusion of this kind of technologies? Also in the healthcare, for example, because this is now another very sensitive industry.
Well, I'm, you know, from the point of, let's say, creators of connected electronic systems, you know, so we are not, I really don't know all the details, like what are the plans, what are the regulations, but I would just like to comment about the GDPR, how we see it, you know, so that can be reflected to our wish what should be regulated here. First, we do not understand, as like a technical persons, we do not understand all the implications of the new regulatives, but what we can observe is that because we have certain exposure, as I said on the beginning, we are looking for the system which reach beyond connectivity itself. So actually they are meant to, let's say, transfer value from one point to the other. What we see is that actually big data industries has the problem. Actually, when I say like a personal data, like what are the personal data today? So the concept of privacy is a little bit corrupted. For example, let's say Facebook, and you mentioned Facebook. Actually, it doesn't matter like where are we now or what are we actually doing, who we are, what are we talking. Actually, it's not really important. The really important is like what we like, what we share, and all these signals which are recreating basically on subconsciousness level. And the difference is like how to treat that, like these signals which you are creating on subconsciousness level, are they yours, or are they just like some kind of public domain? And this is where the big data industry maybe will have problems. From our point of view, we cannot interpret all these regulations, but we can prepare ourselves for let's say, these types of, let's say, changes in the way that we understand the technology which can bring us the lowest possible cost to implement these changes. That's why one of the, let's say, perspective technologies for that is blockchain, but not in the terms of currencies, because there is a lot of hype and so on, but more in the terms of providing, let's say, providing implementation of some new concepts of privacy, but on the cost-effective way.
Okay, thank you. So, Gilad, can we use technology for to create sustainable cities? So, and if yes, can you bring some 3 examples how we can improve the sustainability within the cities through technology?
Well, there's obviously the obvious thing that you can think about. For example, pollution. So if you have what creates pollution is cars, and if a car is looking for a parking spot for like 20 minutes, it pollutes.
Not in Venice.
Not in Venice. Venice has many good things, not only that. But if, for example, with technology and with big data or with cameras or sensor, or I don't know how, you lower the time of people looking for parking, you lower the pollution. So this is the obvious. But other things that we also talked about, and you mentioned Venice, is also tourism. So some cities have a big problem that they have too many tourists. I think Barcelona is one of them, Venice is obviously one of them, and there are more. For us, we don't have so many tourists, unfortunately. We would like to have more. But the people that come, they stay in specific part of the city. So we create some kind of programs with, like, to help people also get to other neighborhoods and other places of the city in order to also buy stuff there, eat in restaurants there, so the wealth will go to all the population. So this is another good example.
Okay, thank you. Franco, can we use technology to make
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think that all the technology we have is strongly helping us to decrease our footprint on the planet. Think about what's going on with different approaches that we have. How less traveling is not more so needed as it was because of video conferences and things like that. But the next step, I think, is not to replace some processes that are polluting, but to go inside polluting processes and through IoT try to make them and to optimize them in a way that they can pollute less or none at all. Because so one of the things that I'm seeing especially in manufacturing, for example, with IoT, is that the things that we are doing with IoT are completely changing the nature of manufacturing processes, not only, but also of manufacturing machines. Okay, I live in a region, in a part of Italy, where they call it the packaging valley, because a lot of companies close to Venice and to Bologna, between Venice and Bologna, are working on manufacturing machine. They are engineering to order industries that are thinking, designing, and building machinery for food, especially. And what is happening now is that the quantity of energy that they are sparing through a good maintenance of the machinery that they manage through IoT is considerable, really considerable. So we don't have to think only to replace processes for reducing our, let me say, carbon footprint on the planet, but also how to manage the process. If you are going to work with the manufacturers about IoT, and you surely do, explain them that sticking an engine on a bike don't make a motorcycle. So they have to change also their machinery, not only put some, I don't know, sensors somewhere. That's it.
Okay. But now we have blockchain using a lot of technology anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, we have the last fast round. But we have not so digitally mature cities now. What about constraints? So what kind of problems do we have?
Let's say politics. Okay. Now politics is really. Now there is a story. I've seen a lot of fantastic people on this stage talking about fantastic ICT future and opportunity. There is a lot of people outside here that is thinking that we are bringing them to use bows and arrows in the future because we are destroying everything. Yeah, this is the perception. So we cannot be adiabatic. Let me see, this is a very chemical term. It means that we are not in a system that is closed. Sorry. And so I think that one of the constraints is to grow in adoption of systems. It looks that if you talk with your friend, everybody has a cell phone, everybody is wearing, I don't know, something like Google glasses or something like that. But think about a lot of people is not using that. So adoption is one of the things that we have to, of course, we have to rise up in system adoption to make it easier to make smart cities. And the other thing is to explain to the politics, but this sometimes is so hard. Sorry.
Thank you. Gilad?
I think that one of the things that comes with technology is less and less human touch. With the apps, we talk, we chat, we SMSs and everything, and we don't go out enough. We see it with the children that are not going out enough and not playing enough with each other. So this is something that really to look at and watch out for. So maybe not in terms of city, but in terms of education.
Thank you.
So in general, there is let's say, for this example in manufacturing, you know, from the perspective of the creators of the system, it's very hard to understand like this domain knowledge, and also from the let's say perspective of these guys who are creating, producing machinery and so on and so on. They are not aware what can be done actually with technology. Not like a SCADA system or whatever, like a normal connection and so on, but what Internet of Things, for example, can bring. So the dialogue is very important. So it's very important to talk with people about the use cases and to try to map the, let's say, the needs of people in various verticals to map into what technology can achieve and what can be done with Internet of Things. I'm all the time referring to Internet of Things because we are creating these systems as enablers for digital transformation. And digital transformation is actually all about that, about the understanding like what technology can do to create some kind of new value, not to improve creating of the existing value and so on. So that's the...
Thank you so much. So we have very few minutes for some questions from the audience. Any question? Yeah.
No, I can do like this. So when you were mentioning those new devices or new technology beside the cell phones, can you maybe, but this is a question for three of you, because I suppose that you can tell us a little bit about new triggers or new like devices that they can help us to connect things, not only people. So can you tell us a little bit about beacons, for example?
Let me give you one interesting example from our, let's say, practice. And also that is the project which we became somehow notorious about that. There is a problem with free-ranging cows, for example, and nobody knows when actually they are going to calve, for example. So there is, let's say, 3 weeks span, and let's say farmer notice that when they are about to give birth, when they have contractions, they raise tail and release tail. So these are the reflections of the contractions. So we created a device which is like a wearable for cows, which actually recognize the event of, let's say, phases of calving, actually. So it saves the time and saves like round trips to check animals. So that's a little bit. Also, it touched the conversation, like how we actually analyzed after that, like how that farmer ended up in our offices, you know. So what is the dialogue? How the other people with similar stuff, how they can recognize there is a possibility to create a device which is like paradoxal per se, which solves that problem, which is like a problem which is there for forever. So there are, the good thing is that it's sort of easy to create these devices today. So there are so many examples of different sensors which can bring some new services. For example, now you can have, for example, you have construction site and you need some kind of security on the construction site. Usually somebody would have to install power and then to install these motion sensors and so on. So now you can literally have like a service which is called, for example, security on demand. You just pay €1 per sensor per day, because it is possible, because with these new systems for wireless and so on, actually you don't need power. Power is in battery and it will last for 1 year or something like that. So devices there, not only mobile phones. I would say, let's say in 2000 and 8 or something, there was the same amount of people, the same number of people and the same number of devices, which would mostly be like mobile phones. Today, I would say we are approaching at least 15 devices per each person in the world. So like a clutter of devices.
Maybe if you can tell us just shortly about your sensors in Tel Aviv. Do you use beacons maybe, or do you use some kind of those lighthouses that they can send like information to specific person?
Well, for us, what is important is not really the how, but is what. When we look at something, we look at the strategy and what we want to achieve through it. So for example, in the beta site, we'll have all kind of stuff and all kind of things, and we are leaving a budget for the people that will come to use it. We want to hear what they need. I don't know what they need. I don't want, you know, one of the biggest problems of municipalities is that they dictate solutions. You come with like a list, like like a shopping list, and you say, I want 2 beacons, 1 sensor, 1 solar panel, and this is what I'm going to do. But this is something the municipalities and governments really need to change, because if you only dictate solutions, you will never do innovation. You will never come up with something new. So the way that we do it is we do like some kind of an RFI. We ask the people, what do you want? What would you like to see there? We do it also in other fields. We tell them, we don't do like a competition or between companies. We tell them, we don't dictate the solutions. We tell them, we have a problem. Our problem is pollution. Our problem is parking. Give us the best solutions that we have. We don't have the solutions. We want the solutions to come from outside, from the companies. Now, the latest one that we did was, we said, we know that one of the most important things of smart cities is to have strong presence of shared economy. So we want to know all the shared economy solutions in all the fields. It can be alternative coins, it can be people exchanging books, everything that has to do with shared economy, because we believe it will help us with one of the biggest problems of Tel Aviv, which is the cost of living. So we get thousands of ideas that you can never think about. You never think about. It comes only from the people, from the outside. I hope I answered the question.
If I can just add, and that process also inspires people from the both sides, like from the need side and from the technology side. It inspires them to converge. And I would say that that's the essence of the digital transformation per se. I mean, that's the, it doesn't matter if it is like a physical signal or it is some kind of abstract signal. The point is like this convergence. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I totally agree about convergence, because one thing that we have seen is about the use of beacons or things like that. In my experience was, in my company experience, was especially in the fashion industry, and especially on fashion retail. So, you know, there is a big fight between online retail and brick and mortar retail about how can we give a better experience to customers when they go to convince them to come to a shop or something like that. So beacons are very necessary if you need them. If you are talking about if you try to gather the experience of a user or of a customer in the shop. Otherwise, you know, he's coming, but you don't know what is, honestly, what he's thinking is not something I can say. This is my GDPR soul that is speaking, but this just, you have to know what is their experience, what they like more in the shop and what they like less in the shop, of course. And so this is something that is teaching how to manage, let me say, how to gather this information. And this has been used at the same time for the city. It can be used for the city, can be used for services, can be used for public, for healthcare, can be used for everything. So altogether, we have not only, let me say, a convergence of the tools, but there is also a convergence of minds, because everybody is trying to understand and know-how, is gathering a know-how that can be used and can be diffused.
We can have just another question from the audience. Okay, please.
Maybe one visionary question about how we see the future. So, are smart cities going to be a real complex IT systems which you have to maintain and understand how they work? So how do you transfer the know-how to the new generation? And
It's a very complex question, and honestly, I don't know the amounts of data that we will have. Now they are very hard to deal with at the moment, and as we see more and more devices and more infrastructure, like what you are doing here in Belgrade, you will have more and more data. Out of that will come opportunities. So there's a lot of opportunity for data scientists or for people that are dealing with this kind of problems. But what I want to refer to in your question is how we allow everybody to enjoy from the advancement. So, and you also talked about it a little bit beforehand, but one of the things that we are thinking a lot in the past year is our senior citizens. Senior citizens have a different set of problems. We can move tomorrow everybody to sending the invoices by mail, but senior citizens, some of them don't have email, they don't know how to use it. So we always need to remember the people that are that we serve. So always think about what their needs and their problems, and try to think about solutions, not only neat and shiny and cool, high-tech, the most advanced stuff. Sometimes the solutions can be very, very simple. You don't need to always use the top-notch technology. It goes back again to understand what is the problem and where you want to go.
Oh, may I tell you a short story about that? Say, okay, the first thing is the same question that we had some, I don't know how many, some decades ago. It was, do we have to leave the wheel if we have tap water? Or do we have to leave our well and close it? Or when we have tap water, of course, we need the reliability from tap water. And so it's the same for smart cities. And another story I told you is about fragile patients that were supported by a smart city project to support them through telemedicine. So these were old people having heart sick or something like about bad sick, of course. They can't move and they want to stay at home. And so there were some devices that can check their insulin, check their pressure and everything, and send this to some doctors. And it was fine because at the beginning, one of the main issues that we had in that project was that how can we convince these old people to use devices? After 6 months, the problem was doctors has to knock at their door because they're using their tablet to talk each other through Skype and not using the phone. So if people start using something and start to have benefits of it, they're going to use them and they're going to pretend that it works in the right way. So this is my sensation about how it's going. That it's going to go forward. For sure we can have failures. For sure we can have blackouts about what's going on. But I'm sure that every blackout will help us to improve our knowledge and our reliability in the systems.
Yeah, I would just add, like, so there is it's very hard to see, like, too far in the future because things are happening in the technology quite fast. But what is also good is that they're actually not happening that fast because people imagine that sensors are some kind of ideal nodes which are just like a small dots which you just put there and they collect data and so on. So there are so many problems in the field. For example, if you want to protect infrastructure, there are like a manholes and then you have to open manhole to install stuff and so on and so on. It's hard. So it will take a time. It will also take a time, so for example, for elderly people which are not still to live in, let's say, homes for elderly, they can still live at home, but maybe they are in danger, so there is a technology which track their lifestyle. Besides the fact that these are like a more or less trackers with motion technology, they are still not so widely spread. To put it that way, there are problems which are more like a social problems than technology. So there will be enough time to accommodate and to let's say to see and understand what is going to happen in the future. I think the future will be bright.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts and insights. Thank you again.
Thanks.